Mobile X hadir, selalu memberikan kemudahan dalam bertransaksi. Gratis biaya transfer tanpa syarat dengan Permata Mobile X. Gratis biaya transfer ke bank lain. Gratis biaya transfer sesering yang kamu mau. Dan gratis biaya transfer tanpa minimum saldo dengan Permata Mobile X. Gratis biaya transfer kemanapun tanpa syarat. Tanpa batas waktu, tanpa minimum saldo, tanpa batas frekuensi, hanya di satu aplikasi Permata Mobile X.
As one of Buku 4 Bank, PermataBank serves more than 4.2 million customers throughout the country. We always innovating and utilizing digital technology. Banking with us easier more than ever with cross-border payment and trade value chain finance solution. PermataBank was chosen as one of participating banks for QR Pay cross-border. Support government to create a cashless society ecosystem. Enjoy transactions abroad with QR Pay on Permata Mobile X. For cashless payments in Thailand. Not only in Thailand, together with Bangkok Bank, we have Asia same-day transfer, remittance in US dollar and Thai baht, to and from 12 countries in Asia. With business coming back, way forward is to embrace recovery and growth. We have Permata e-value chain and blockchain trade to support economic growth. Permata e-value chain is a web-based application to simplify your community-based banking transaction. It's 24 hours, 7-day service only for you. Used by various industries, healthcare, automotive, telco, consumer goods, construction, pulp and paper, and more companies. But is your company ready for blockchain? In digitization era, there's one area still dependent on paper. For decades, global trade have used internationally governed letters of credit. Collaboration industry underpinned by blockchain technology transforming to digital trade. Contour, backed by the world's leading trade banks. Experts in digitizing the entire end-to-end trade journey. With PermataBank, business made simple.
เวลาที่มีใครถามนะคะว่าทำงานที่ไหนก็ตอบไปได้เลยนะคะว่าทำงานที่บ้านปู่คนบ้านปู่ก็จะเป็นคนที่ปรับตัวให้เข้ากับสิ่งต่างๆที่เปลี่ยนแปลงไปในบริบทของโลกที่เปลี่ยนไปในทุกๆด้านค่ะ
การสร้างความยั่งยืนทางพลังงานเป็นความท้าทายและก็เป็นแพชชั่นของพนักงานบ้านปูทุกคนทุกตำแหน่งเรามีความมุ่งมั่นที่จะให้ทุกคนมีความมั่นใจว่าพลังงานที่ได้จากบ้านปูเป็นพลังงานที่เป็นมิตรกับสิ่งแวดล้อม
เวลาที่จะเข้าไปทำในธุรกิจแต่ละอย่างเนี่ยต้องไปทำความเข้าใจกับคนของประเทศนั้นๆเราก็ต้องเอาความเป็นบ้านปูฮาร์ทเนี่ยค่ะเข้าไปร่วมกันแชร์กับเขาเพื่อที่จะทำความเข้าใจซึ่งกันและกันนะคะในโลกปัจจุบันนี้เนี่ยค่ะไม่ว่าเราจะทำธุรกิจอะไรก็ตามเนี่ยคำว่า ESG เนี่ยจะเป็นตัวนำเลยของทุกกลยุทธ์ที่บ้านปูจะต้องนำเข้ามาบรรจุไว้ในแนวความคิดทุกอย่างหลายๆประเทศที่บ้านปูไปเนี่ยมันกว้างขวางมากดังนั้นเราต้องเลือกเฟ้นการพัฒนาพลังงานแบบเน้นๆนิดนึงเพราะว่าในทุกๆประเทศที่เราไปเนี่ยมันก็เป็นเหมือนบ้านของบ้านปูอะค่ะเราก็มองว่าพลังงานเนี่ยเป็นสิ่งที่จะเติบโตไปควบคู่กับการเติบโตของเศรษฐกิจของประเทศเติบโตของเศรษฐกิจของโลกนะคะและพลังงานเนี่ยก็จะอยู่กับเราทุกคนนะคะดังนั้นความเข้าใจในเรื่องของพลังงานต่างๆของคนบ้านปูเนี่ยก็จะเป็นสิ่งที่เราคุยกันอยู่ประจำทุกวันอยู่แล้วเราไม่เคยเบื่อเลยนะคะที่จะพูดถึงเรื่องพลังงานและก็อนาคตพลังงาน
ผมก็ภูมิใจนะครับที่ได้เป็นส่วนร่วมในการปลูกฝังแนวคิดเรื่องพลังงานแห่งอนาคตผ่าน Smart City ให้กับคนรุ่นใหม่ครับ
ภูมิใจมากครับที่ผมได้ดูแลบ้านดูแลบริษัทบ้านปูดูแลพลังงานให้เราได้ใช้ในทุกที่
ทุกคนที่อยู่ในบ้านปูเนี่ยเราก็จะพูดกันในเรื่องของทิศทางของบ้านปูที่จะเติบโตไปมันจะมาจากจิตใจของคนบ้านปูเลยค่ะที่อยากจะทำให้เกิดพลังงานสะอาดพลังงานฉลาดพลังงานที่ยั่งยืนอยู่ใน passion อยู่ใน innovation แล้วก็มองอยู่ตลอดเวลาว่าบ้านปูเนี่ยจะเป็นผู้นำในการเปลี่ยนแปลงพลังงานให้เป็นพลังงานที่ยั่งยืนของเอเชียแปซิฟิกค่ะ
ตื่นมาทุกเช้าก็อยากรีบมาทำงานเลยครับเพราะว่าเชื่อว่างานของเราเนี่ยทำให้หลายๆคนมีชีวิตที่ดียิ่งขึ้นครับ
ส่วนเรื่องหลังบ้านของบ้านปูอ่ะป้าขอดูแลเองไม่ต้องเป็นห่วง
ที่นี่เราอยู่กันเป็นบ้านอยู่เป็นครอบครัวค่ะขอบอกเลยนะคะว่าบ้านปูเป็นบ้านของพวกเรามาหลาย10 ปีแล้วค่ะ
การที่พวกเราได้มาร่วมกันได้มาคิดร่วมกันเนี่ยจะเป็นจุดสำคัญมากๆเลยที่ทำให้เกิดความคิดสร้างสรรค์ใหม่ๆที่จะสร้างสิ่งใหม่ๆขึ้นมาให้กับโลกเราได้ค่ะ
ให้บ้านปูร่วมสร้างพลังงานและความยั่งยืน
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to all attendees of today's regional webinar event. Allow me to convey today's house rules during the event. During the session, please mute your laptop or handphone audio microphone. Kindly make sure your internet is stable. Please rename your Zoom ID using the format of name_company to facilitate identification. Thank you.
Bangkok Bank is Thailand's largest bank and the 6th largest bank in Southeast Asia by assets. We have been supporting businesses and people to make sound financial decisions in a changing world since our founding in 1944. Today, Bangkok Bank has more than 17 million accounts, about 1,000 branches, and around 240 business centers and business desks in Thailand. We are Thailand's most international bank. We were the first commercial bank in Southeast Asia to establish an overseas branch, with the first opened in Hong Kong in 1954. Today, Bangkok Bank has 3 international subsidiary banks. Our overseas network spans 14 economies with nearly 300 domestic branches in Indonesia. Bangkok Bank is a leading Southeast Asian regional bank with a presence in 9 ASEAN countries. We draw on our deep understanding of local markets, business connections, and international networks to support customers as they build their presence in the region. The year 2020 marked the beginning of a new era as we brought PermataBank into our Bangkok Bank family. This was the largest intra-ASEAN bank acquisition and the first international acquisition of a major bank by a Thai bank. Today, PermataBank is one of Indonesia's 10 largest banks by assets, serving more than 6 million customers nationwide. Our deep experience, comprehensive range of financial services, and extensive network enable us to help you identify and benefit from new business opportunities. Bangkok Bank is proud to work with our customers and stakeholders to create value for a sustainable future in Thailand and across the region. For more than 7 decades, our business has been guided by the philosophy of being a trusted partner and reliable close friend, or as we say in Thai, Puan Ku Kit, Mit Ku Ban. Bangkok Bank stands ready to help investors tap into exciting opportunities in trade and investment and to empower businesses across ASEAN.
Mobile X hadir, selalu memberikan kemudahan dalam bertransaksi. Gratis biaya transfer tanpa syarat dengan Permata Mobile X. Gratis biaya transfer ke bank lain. Gratis biaya transfer sesering yang kamu mau. Dan gratis biaya transfer tanpa minimum saldo dengan Permata Mobile X. Gratis biaya transfer kemanapun tanpa syarat. Tanpa batas waktu, tanpa minimum saldo, tanpa batas frekuensi, hanya di satu aplikasi Permata Mobile X.
As one of Buku 4 Bank, PermataBank serves more than 4.2 million customers throughout the country. We always innovating and utilizing digital technology. Banking with us easier more than ever with cross-border payment and trade value chain finance solution. PermataBank was chosen as one of participating banks for QR Pay cross-border. Support government to create a cashless society ecosystem. Enjoy transactions abroad with QR Pay on Permata Mobile X. For cashless payments in Thailand. Not only in Thailand, together with Bangkok Bank, we have Asia same-day transfer. Remittance in US dollar and Thai baht to and from 12 countries in Asia. With business coming back, way forward is to embrace recovery and growth. We have Permata e-value chain and blockchain trade to support economic growth. Permata e-value chain is a web-based application to simplify your community-based banking transaction. It's 24 hours, 7-day service only for you. Used by various industries, healthcare, automotive, telco, consumer goods, construction, pulp and paper, and more companies. But is your company ready for blockchain? In digitization era, there's one area still dependent on paper. For decades, global trade have used internationally governed letters of credit. Collaboration industry underpinned by blockchain technology, transforming to digital trade. Contour, backed by the world's leading trade banks. Experts in digitizing the entire end-to-end trade journey. With PermataBank, business made simple.
Ladies and gentlemen, all attendees, we are about to start the event soon. We would like to invite you to take your seat. Thank you.
เวลาที่มีใครถามนะคะว่าทำงานที่ไหนก็ตอบไปได้เลยนะคะว่าทำงานที่บ้านปู่คนบ้านปู่ก็จะเป็นคนที่ปรับตัวให้เข้ากับสิ่งต่างๆที่เปลี่ยนแปลงไปในบริบทของโลกที่เปลี่ยนไปในทุกๆด้านค่ะ
การสร้างความยั่งยืนทางพลังงานเป็นความท้าทายและก็เป็นแพชชั่นของพนักงานบ้านปูทุกคนทุกตำแหน่งเรามีความมุ่งมั่นที่จะให้ทุกคนมีความมั่นใจว่าพลังงานที่ได้จากบ้านปูเป็นพลังงานที่เป็นมิตรกับสิ่งแวดล้อม
เวลาที่จะเข้าไปทำในธุรกิจแต่ละอย่างเนี่ยต้องไปทำความเข้าใจกับคนของประเทศนั้นๆเราก็ต้องเอาความเป็นบ้านปูฮาร์ทเนี่ยค่ะเข้าไปร่วมกันแชร์กับเขาเพื่อที่จะทำความเข้าใจซึ่งกันและกันนะคะในโลกปัจจุบันนี้เนี่ยค่ะไม่ว่าเราจะทำธุรกิจอะไรก็ตามเนี่ยคำว่า ESG เนี่ยจะเป็นตัวนำเลยของทุกกลยุทธ์ที่บ้านปูจะต้องนำเข้ามาบรรจุไว้ในแนวความคิดทุกอย่างหลายๆประเทศที่บ้านปูไปเนี่ยมันกว้างขวางมากดังนั้นเราต้องเลือกเฟ้นการพัฒนาพลังงานแบบเน้นๆนิดนึงเพราะว่าในทุกๆประเทศที่เราไปเนี่ยมันก็เป็นเหมือนบ้านของบ้านปูอะค่ะเราก็มองว่าพลังงานเนี่ยเป็นสิ่งที่จะเติบโตไปควบคู่กับการเติบโตของเศรษฐกิจของประเทศเติบโตของเศรษฐกิจของโลกนะคะและพลังงานเนี่ยก็จะอยู่กับเราทุกคนนะคะดังนั้นความเข้าใจในเรื่องของพลังงานต่างๆของคนบ้านปูเนี่ยก็จะเป็นสิ่งที่เราคุยกันอยู่ประจำทุกวันอยู่แล้วเราไม่เคยเบื่อเลยนะคะที่จะพูดถึงเรื่องพลังงานและก็อนาคตพลังงาน
ผมก็ภูมิใจนะครับที่ได้เป็นส่วนร่วมในการปลูกฝังแนวคิดเรื่องพลังงานแห่งอนาคตผ่าน Smart City ให้กับคนรุ่นใหม่ครับ
ภูมิใจมากครับที่ผมได้ดูแลบ้านดูแลบริษัทบ้านปูดูแลพลังงานให้เราได้ใช้ในทุกๆที่
ทุกคนที่อยู่ในบ้านปูเนี่ย เราก็จะพูดกันในเรื่องของทิศทางของบ้านปูที่จะเติบโตไปมันจะมาจากจิตใจของคนบ้านปูเลยค่ะที่อยากจะทำให้เกิดพลังงานสะอาดพลังงานฉลาดพลังงานที่ยั่งยืนอยู่ใน passion อยู่ใน innovation แล้วก็มองอยู่ตลอดเวลาว่าบ้านปูเนี่ยจะเป็นผู้นำในการเปลี่ยนแปลงพลังงานให้เป็นพลังงานที่ยั่งยืนของเอเชียแปซิฟิกค่ะ
ตื่นมาทุกเช้าก็อยากรีบมาทำงานเลยครับเพราะว่าเชื่อว่างานของเราเนี่ยทำให้หลายๆ คนมีชีวิตที่ดียิ่งขึ้นครับ
ส่วนเรื่องหลังบ้านของบ้านปูอ่ะป้าขอดูแลเองไม่ต้องเป็นห่วง
ที่นี่เราอยู่กันเป็นบ้านอยู่เป็นครอบครัวค่ะขอบอกเลยนะคะว่าบ้านปูเป็นบ้านของพวกเรามาหลาย10 ปีแล้วค่ะ
การที่พวกเราได้มาร่วมกันได้มาคิดร่วมกันเนี่ยจะเป็นจุดสำคัญมากๆเลยที่ทำให้เกิดความคิดสร้างสรรค์ใหม่ๆที่จะสร้างสิ่งใหม่ๆขึ้นมาให้กับโลกเราได้ค่ะ
ให้บ้านปูร่วมสร้างพลังงานและความยั่งยืน
Bangkok Bank is Thailand's largest bank and the 6th largest bank in Southeast Asia by assets. We have been supporting businesses and people to make sound financial decisions in a changing world since our founding in 1944. Today, Bangkok Bank has more than 17 million accounts, about 1,000 branches, and around 240 business centers and business desks in Thailand. We are Thailand's most international bank. We were the first commercial bank in Southeast Asia to establish an overseas branch, with the first opened in Hong Kong in 1954. Today, Bangkok Bank has 3 international subsidiary banks. Our overseas network spans 14 economies with nearly 300 domestic branches in Indonesia. Bangkok Bank is a leading Southeast Asian regional bank with a presence in 9 ASEAN countries. We draw on our deep understanding of local markets, business connections, and international networks to support customers as they build their presence in the region. The year 2020 marked the beginning of a new era as we brought PermataBank into our Bangkok Bank family. This was the largest intra-ASEAN bank acquisition and the first international acquisition of a major bank by a Thai bank. Today, PermataBank is one of Indonesia's 10 largest banks by assets, serving more than 6 million customers nationwide. Our deep experience, comprehensive range of financial services, and extensive network enable us to help you identify and benefit from new business opportunities. Bangkok Bank is proud to work with our customers and stakeholders to create value for a sustainable future in Thailand and across the region. For more than 7 decades, our business has been guided by the philosophy of being a trusted partner and reliable close friend, or as we say in Thai, Puan Kukit Mit Kuban. Bangkok Bank stands ready to help investors tap into exciting opportunities in trade and investment and to empower businesses across ASEAN.
PermataMobile X hadir, selalu memberikan kemudahan dalam bertransaksi. Gratis biaya transfer tanpa syarat dengan PermataMobile X. Gratis biaya transfer ke bank lain. Biaya transfer sesering yang kamu mau. Dan gratis biaya transfer tanpa minimum saldo dengan PermataMobile X. Gratis biaya transfer kemanapun tanpa syarat. Tanpa batas waktu, tanpa minimum saldo, tanpa batas frekuensi, hanya di satu aplikasi PermataMobile X.
and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How is everyone doing today? Firstly, I would like to thank you for taking your time to join the webinar. It is a pleasure and honor to welcome all of you from the studio. My name is Arnita Rosiana, and I would be the host for today's event. On behalf of the committee, I would like to warmly welcome all of our honorable guests. The President of Bangkok Bank, Mr. Chartsiri Soponpanich, Sawadee. President Director of PermataBank, Mrs. Melisa Rusli, selamat pagi Ibu. All Board of Commissioners and Board of Directors of PermataBank, all of our distinguished speakers and moderator, and last but not least, all of our attendees today. Once again, thank you and welcome to the regional webinar, Gearing Up, Getting Ready for the Challenges in 2023, proudly presented by Bangkok Bank and PermataBank. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, to officially welcome you and start today's event, we will hear the opening remarks from the President of Bangkok Bank, Mr. Chartsiri Soponpanich. Without further ado, please welcome Kun Chartsiri.
Good morning, Swadee Krab, Selamat Pagi. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gearing Up, Getting Ready for Challenges in 2023, the first in a series of joint regional webinars organized by Bangkok Bank and PermataBank. We have launched this webinar series so that we can connect you, our audience, with some of the sharpest business leaders and thinkers from across the ASEAN region. They will be sharing their insights and perspectives on the key business trends, opportunities and challenges affecting Southeast Asia in the near and mid-term. And to be frank, many challenges lie ahead. It seems no sooner than we had started to put the worst of the COVID-19 pandemic behind us, new clouds start to gather on the horizon, threatening the outbreak of a perfect storm of high inflation, a cost of living crisis, disrupted food and fuel supply chains, rising interest rates, and increasing geopolitical tensions. What are these challenges? How should we manage them? And where can we turn crisis into opportunity? These are among key questions our expert panel will address today. I would like to thank our speakers for giving up their times to join the panel today. I'm sure you will be able to learn much from what they have to say. Mr. Tony Fernandez, founder and chief executive of Capital A, also known as AirAsia Group, will be able to share his experience of starting up the region's first fully fledged low-cost carrier, leading it through the COVID pandemic, and now disrupting himself by developing a food delivery, logistics, and travel super app. Kun Somruddhi Chaimongkol, Chief Executive Officer of Banpu, a leading energy and power company that is pioneering energy transition. We discuss why the move towards more sustainable forms of business is critical to increase energy security across the region. Bapak Pandu Patria Jaria, founding partner of AC Ventures and Commissioner of Indonesia Stock Exchange, we share his views on the road ahead for the country's listed business and innovators, and the importance of energy transition and digitalization of Indonesia's economy at large. I also like to thank Dr. Gopsak Putakun, our Senior Executive Vice President at Bangkok Bank, for moderating today's discussion. I'm sure he will be able to draw on his unique understanding of business and trade in ASEAN to add great value to the conversation. We hope the conversation today will not only help provide you with a unique perspective on current events affecting the business world, but also be a source of information and clarity that will help you as business owner and decision maker face the region's future with greater confidence. I also like to stress, while many challenges lie ahead, we should not be resting on our laurels. There are few better places in the world from which to face these challenges than ASEAN. While Southeast Asia is not immune to global economic turbulence, the region's impressive growth story remains intact. It is recovering faster than other parts of the world. Its strengths include diverse markets, positive demographics, digitalization, growing FDI, and strong companies backed by strong banks. It's also on track to become the world's fourth largest economy within 2030. The consensus around the benefits of globalization has been weakening for some time. It has broken down as a result of the effects of the COVID pandemic on global supply and value chain, as well as from a shift in the political discourse in many countries. This reinforces the need for us to focus on building robust and resilient local and regional value and supply chain, and enhancing food and energy security across Southeast Asia, so we can manage future shocks with as little disruption as possible. As Thailand's most international bank and the sixth largest ASEAN regional bank, with a footprint in Southeast Asia's two largest economies, Indonesia through PermataBank and Thailand, we are committed to facilitating regional digital connectivity, financial interoperability, and cross-border payment to help deliver an inclusive and sustainable future for all stakeholders. Thank you and enjoy the webinar. Terima kasih. ขอบคุณครับ
Khop Kun Ka. Thank you, Kun Charsiri, for the warm opening remarks. We are soon entering the main session, and therefore I would like to invite our moderator for today, Dr. Kopsak Putrakul, Director and Senior Executive Vice President of Bangkok Bank. Good morning, Dr. Kopsak.
Hi.
Sawadika.
Good morning. Sawadee krap.
Thank you. Before we start the discussion, selamat pagi, Bapak. Before we start the discussion, I would like to ask all of our honorable guests and speakers to take a group photo. Kindly turn on the camera, everyone, and get ready to take some pictures together. Okay, everyone is on standby, I see. Okay, on my count. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, one more time. 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you, everyone. Gentlemen, honorable guests and distinguished speakers, we now begin the discussion sessions, starting with one-on-one discussion between Dr. Kopsak as the moderator and each of our speaker, followed by roundtable discussions with all speakers and close with the Q&A sessions. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Kopsak Putrakul.
Sawadee krap. Selamat pagi. Good morning. The past 3 years has been very challenging years for all business and for everyone. 2 years of COVID, 1 year of perfect storm that resulting in high volatilities in global financial markets. And in fact, looking forward to 2023, we will have another challenging years ahead. This is exactly why PermataBank and Bangkok Bank today join force in organizing our first regional webinar on the very important topic of gearing up, getting ready for challenges in 2023. There are several questions that on the top of everyone's mind. For example, how should we prepare ourselves for 2023? Also, looking forward beyond 2023 in a new normal, how should we gearing up for that? We are very fortunate to have 3 top business leaders of our region who will join us today to discuss very important topic. We will begin by asking each panelist to take up to 10 to 15 minutes to talk about their company and how they see the challenge in 2023. And then it will follow by 50 minutes of roundtable discussion where I will ask them some questions, also as well as entertain some questions from the audience. Now let me begin from Kun Tony Fernandez. I think Kun Tony Fernandez need no introduction. Everyone know him very well with Air Asia. He co-founded one of the leading low-cost carrier, Air Asia, and at this point in time, he served as the CEO of Capital A. Good morning, Kun Tony Fernandez. สวัสดีครับ มันขยับไม่ได้ โอเค ขอบคุณนะครับ ต้องพยายามไม่ให้มันตึงเกินไป Hi สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับ Good morning Dr. Kopsat
Good morning it's our great honor to have you with us today so let's please begin from your discussion of the challenge of 2023 and then we will return to each of the speaker one by one and then followed by the roundtable discussion the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay. I have a small presentation. I'm not sure if it's being put up. So morning, everyone. Good morning, Tony Chatsiri from Bangkok Bank, Pandu, and other guest speakers. Calling in from Kuala Lumpur, actually looking at not my airport, but Malaysian airports, looking outside and seeing very few planes is actually a great thing for me. Over the last 2 years, we had so many planes on the ground that it was heartbreaking. But effectively, over 3 years, we have managed through COVID. And I'll tell you a little bit about our story in the next 10 minutes. Can we have our first slide? Just to refresh everybody, I started this airline 21 years ago. Actually, on December the 8th, 2001, me and my partner Kamaruddin bought AirAsia for 1 ringgit. That's effectively now 25 cents, US cents, and took over an airline with 2 planes, 200 staff, and 40 million ringgit. Over the last 21 years, and our 21st birthday was a few days ago, on December the 8th. We have now actually won the world's best low-cost airline 13 times in a row. And we've grown from 2 planes to 204 aircraft, from 200,000 passengers to 90 million passengers, making us the 4th largest airline in Asia. And made ASEAN a much smaller place. We created so many new routes between ASEAN countries and enabled great connectivity. And we went from 200 staff to 21,000 staff. So it was an incredible journey, but all came crashing down in the beginning of 2020. You can take the next slide. That was our airport. It was something out of a movie. I don't think anyone in this presentation can really appreciate what we went through, from having almost 13 billion ringgit of revenue to virtually zero for 2 years. And seeing 200, there was one day, 205 planes were grounded. And if you looked at the airport, not a single person was in the airport. It was like something out of a Will Smith movie. So how did we survive? We survived with great support from great partners like Bangkok Bank, who believed in us long term. And I have to say this, I'm not saying this just because I'm on a Bangkok Bank presentation. Businesses are very short term now. And everyone talks about ESG, but actually banks play a great part in sustainability of businesses during crises. Many banks during COVID took a very, very short-term view. AirAsia was a great company. COVID was not our fault. But, you know, many people pulled lines, cut credit, and really pushed us into a very, very dangerous position of not surviving. That is why whenever Kuntoni or Dr. Kopsa ask me for anything, I am there 100% for Bangkok Bank. We will never forget our friends. During a crisis, you realize the values of relationship and banks and partners who look long term. One of the reasons we're still alive is because of the tremendous support of Bangkok Bank, who knew that we would bounce back. I always remember Kuntoni saying, "It will come back and you will come back stronger." Those words were great encouragement. And so it must be said, because many companies now take very short-term views, but really those that are successful take long-term views. So with the help of Bangkok Bank and others, we managed to survive 2 years of no flying. And effectively, COVID has been around for 3 years. It's still around because China is still not open, and China represents a large part of our fleet. So survived the first 2 years of COVID, 2020, 2021. We innovated, and we're beginning to restart our airline in 2022. And hopefully by 2023, we get back to normal. But during this period when we could not do anything, we looked at what could we do to keep ourselves alive and to keep our staff employed. And so we came up with Capital A and created 5 new divisions using basically airline data and our very strong brand. I think another thing that is really important during a crisis, AirAsia survived with the help of banks and financial institutions like Bangkok Bank, but also survived because we had great staff and a great brand. So what did we do out of our airline? We looked and we said, what can we do? Obviously, cargo boomed during COVID. So we were never very big in cargo. So we created a logistics company called Teleport and took all the seats off our planes and became a cargo airline. We never had cargo planes before. And then we started last mile and first mile. And pilots became delivery guys. Cabin crew were also delivering packages. And we created Teleport, which is now the fastest growing logistics company in Southeast Asia. We've just won all the big e-commerce companies from Shopee to Lazada to GoTo are using us now. And for the first time in our history, we've taken freighters. So we now have 3 freighters in Teleport. And last week, we created the first ASEAN competitor to DHL and FedEx with the launch of Teleport It. So we now have a courier company, we now have a traditional cargo company, and we have a very big e-commerce first mile and last mile. So as AirAsia's fleet comes back, Teleport will be one of the largest logistics companies in Asia. This was really born out of COVID and trying to keep ourselves alive. We restructured our aviation group into AirAsia Aviation. So Capital A now owns AirAsia Aviation, which is 5 airlines. And recently we announced the start of a Cambodian airline. This was our 6th airline. and we're tremendously excited. We have 2 more coming, so we've started to regrow. So we have a pure airline group, and then we took out businesses from our aviation company. ADE is an engineering company based on digital science and is growing very rapidly as one of the largest MROs. And then we took out our catering services and created an independent catering company, Sun, and a ground handling company called GTR in partnership with the Singaporeans. Put it under Holdco called Red Aviation Services. Finally, we took our digital data and built our own equivalent of Expedia, AirAsia Super App, which is now Malaysian Airlines and Lion Air's #1 seller on top of AirAsia tickets. Created a fintech, which is about to get a license in Thailand, but we have one in Malaysia and Singapore with 2 million customers. And I've started a lending business into the travel side of business. And finally, we created a VC arm. So these 5 companies kept us alive during COVID. And now we're out of COVID and coming out of COVID, we have got 4 very exciting businesses. 2023, I believe, is going to be an exciting year for us. I know there's lots of talk of recession and all kinds of slowdown, but for a value business, I guess we're very excited. We've focused on cost and we're focusing on our brand. And we believe 2023 is a year that we can come back with strong profitability with all our planes coming back. Right now, we have 140 planes back in operation. By the first quarter, we hope to have all 205 planes back in service. So a very, very tough year, tough 3 years, but I'm very excited about the future. It's all about innovating. It's all about having great people and having a great brand to survive this crisis. But I go into 2023 confident and excited, especially about ASEAN. I've always been a big, big believer in ASEAN. And I think with some of the issues in China, ASEAN will benefit. It is going to be a great period of growth for ASEAN. And I hope ASEAN gets closer together and breaks down some of the barriers that are there. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And for all 267 participants, make sure you only fly on AirAsia from now on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We definitely fly AirAsia. We very much believe in you. And we always think that AirAsia will come back and in fact, even stronger than before. I think COVID will be the turning point for AirAsia, where you expand into many other business that you lay out. And these businesses will even make AirAsia stronger in the future. Now let me turn to the second speaker, Kun Somridi. Kun Somridi is the Chief Executive Officer of Banpu Public Company. She has been with the company for 3 decades and helped the company grow to become one of the leading energy company of the regions and of the world. So without further ado, let me give the floor to Kun Somridi. Thank you.
Sawadika.
Sawadika.
Dr. Gausak, Kun Chasiri, and Kun Chalit, I see you from Jakarta, I believe, and all the Bangkok Bank team and all the panelists and Tony. I am a big fan of AirAsia. And good morning to everyone and all participants. It's my honor to be here speaking to you, and thank you to Bangkok Bank in giving Banpu these opportunities. In the next 10 minutes, I would be honored to give you the transformation of Banpu, how we do that. What is our journey and our mission from a coal mining company in Thailand to be an international versatile energy solution provider with a greener, smarter strategy. So in the next slide, just would like to give you a brief picture of Banpu, that we provide integrated energy solution across the Pan-Pacific Rim, and we operate across the energy value chain. There are three main pillars of Banpu business: energy resources, energy generation, and energy technology. And under the energy resources group, we have our natural gas extraction and coal mining operations. We just add natural gas in 2015 according to our greener, smarter strategy, so that we can transform from a mining company to be an integrated energy company. And under the energy generation, we produce gas-fired power, coal-fired power. However, we do not invest in coal or coal-fired anymore since 2015, and we add on immensely on the renewable energy. And finally, our energy technology, the new pillar, we started about 3 years ago. We have developed operations in solar rooftop, floating solar, smart city infrastructure, e-mobility, energy storage, and also energy trading platform in the countries that we invest. And in the next slide, Banpu actually founded in 1983, and now we are almost 40 years old. We are a humble coal mining company from the northern part of Thailand, and we are listed in the Stock Exchange of Thailand in 1989. Between 2000 and 2015, we entered to a major diversification, expanding to our international coal, gas, and renewable according to the greener, smarter strategy. And then in the 2016, the greener, smarter transformation is impact immensely, and it helped us get through the crisis on the climate change. So we kickstart the Banpu Sustainable Energy Solution and Transition since then. We began to invest further to the renewable, and in 2020 that we launched Banpu Next, which is our new pillar on the energy technology and infrastructure. Over the past few years, we have accelerated the transition even further and bolder, more ambitious green investment decision. And today, in the next slide, we operate in 10 countries: Australia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Laos, Thai, Mongolia, China, Japan, and as far as the US. In Indonesia, we started our first business with the coal mine project in Sumatra since 1991, and we expand through the ITM, PT Indo Tambang Raya Mega, also listed in Jakarta Stock Exchange. Now, ITM operates 7 coal mines operations in Kalimantan, and now preparing to expand to renewables and energy technology or the smart energy solution. At Banpu, we take global and holistic approach to our investment and growth strategy, prioritizing diversity across geography and sectors. Altogether, we have more than 20 nationalities working with us in 10 countries. Therefore, our culture is only applied for one culture, which is Banpu Heart. As we are reaching the end of 2022, we can take a minute to look into a major global challenge up ahead so that we be best prepared to overcome those challenges. So in the next slide, the global and regional challenge that we foresee now is the geopolitical conflict of Russia and Ukraine, which occurred in February 24th, 2022 this year, leading to a supply chain shortage and the energy crisis. So in 2023, we can expect to see more disruption as the geopolitical landscape continues to shift. The second one I foresee as a challenge is the global recession as a consequence to the COVID-19 and the subsequent tension of the political issue. We are sliding into a global recession due to supply shortage, and we are facing resource competition across the globe, with many nations now tracking a cost of living crisis. So in the global population increase, this is another challenge. In November, our global population hit 8 billion and continues to rise. In addition, many nations will feel the challenges associated with the aging population, such as a reduced workforce and strained health services. And the most important one is climate crisis, which impact Banpu directly. Perhaps this is the most critical challenge, which is the climate change, as it will catastrophically impact all sectors and economies. Extreme weather events will reach new high in 2023, and for the famous COP27 conference in November in Egypt, there is a breakthrough agreement to provide lost and damaged funding for vulnerable countries hit hard by climate disaster, and countries reaffirm their commitment to limit global temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is very, very challenging, above the pre-industrial levels. The next slide with an anti-fragile strategy. This is the word that we talk a lot at Banpu. These challenges also, because we believe that the challenges also always be presented with vital opportunities to implement the greener and smarter for long-term growth and sustainability. So we believe in this anti-fragility mindset. According to Professor Taleb, author of Anti-Fragile, things that gain from disorder, nations, individuals, and businesses are anti-fragile if they thrive and grow when exposed to volatility, disorder, and stressors. In other words, anti-fragility is the capacity to gain and grow from shock and adversity. In the next slide, just would like to highlight a little bit how Banpu transformed, taking advantage of the last 2 to 3 years disruption. We also seized the opportunity according to our transformation strategy. Supported by our anti-fragile strategy, we are on a mission to provide sustainable energy far and wide. In 1987, the United Nations Brundtland Commission defined sustainability as meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Banpu has identified 3 pillars of sustainability to ensure that long-term needs are not compromised by our present actions. We are on our mission to implement energy solutions which are affordable, provide accessible energy far and wide. Secondly, reliable, ensuring security of energy supply even through times of disruption. And thirdly, eco-friendly, creating maximum shareholder value whilst ensuring minimal environmental impact. And this one is very important nowadays because everything is related environment. In the next slide, to realize this vision, we have deployed our long-term anti-fragile roadmap across our 3 core business scope. To develop upstream greener resources, we explore nature-based solutions, as well as the strategic minerals, which are a critical components of clean energy. Not to mention that we enlarge our gas portfolio in the US to make our energy resources cleaner and greener. And the second one, to ensure that our greener generation, in which we are investing in the high efficiency, low emission technology, or the renewable part of the business to make our energy generation greener and smarter. And the third one, to provide greener energy technology, we are focused on developing clean energy infrastructure, and we are continually expand and integrated our energy technology solution portfolio. If we look beyond energy, we will be investing further into promising new S-curve industries such as technology, healthcare, and smart agriculture to foster transformative and diversified growth. Not only Banpu, but all subsidiaries of Banpu also moving toward greener, smarter transformation, including our ITM, Indo-Tampang Raya Mega, our subsidiaries in Indonesia. ITM is expanding its core business beyond coal mine and now looking at the renewable and as well as the energy technology business in Indonesia. Next slide, talking about today, Banpu is leading the sustainability energy transition. In this diagram, we have come a long way since the launch of Greener, Smarter strategy since 2015. In just 6 years that we went from investing 0.1 billion to investing over 2.3 billion US dollar into Greener, Smarter strategy. By ramping up all green investments and diversifying our portfolio, including the newest in green, clean energy technology, we have made a fantastic progress up until now. And I'm proudly to say that we are well on our way to achieving our goal of transition to a 50% greener portfolio in the near future. And with all of this, I would have to mention that we owe a lot to Bangkok Bank. In every country that we grow our business, we are very fortunate that we have Bangkok Bank alongside with us all the time. And I would say that every country in 10 countries, and this is a true international bank. And we believe in the support from Bangkok Bank as always. Thank you very much for your time. Terima kasih banyak. Thank you ค่ะ ขอบคุณค่ะ
ครับขอบคุณครับ Thank you very much คุณสมฤดี This is very inspiring story of transformation that lasts 40 years from a small coal company in the northern part of Thailand to become a leading regional company who lead in terms of energy transformation. I will definitely come back to both of you later on the key risks you see for 2023 and how you preparing for those risks. Let me move on to the final speaker, Park Pandu. Park Pandu is a commissioner of Indonesia Stock Exchange and also the founding partner of the AC Ventures. He also a commissioner of Gojek Indonesia, chairman of Indonesian Coal Mining Association, and chairman of Energy Committee in the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce. I think Indonesia is one of the most exciting country in the regions with great prospect. We would love to hear from you how you see 2023 and how you're preparing for it. The floor is yours, Park Pandu.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Hi, good morning.
Sawadee-krap and selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi.
Punchat Siri, good morning to you. Tony, how are you? Been a while. Haven't seen you. And Bu Melissa and also Punchalit. Hello, everyone. I have a short presentation. I will do it quickly. Given that we have about 8 to 10 minutes, maybe can someone put up the slide on this? And I just want to give you two things I think is quite topical about Indonesia itself, and then second about the technology industry which we invest in. So next slide. Just macro outlook. I think probably the single most important achievement we did that we were able to do a G20. If it's not Indonesia, I don't think we would have a G20. It was successful because I think among the top 20 countries that they were able to create a communique that essentially state we shouldn't have any more war. That in itself changed the entire political dynamic before G20 and after G20, which I think you're seeing in the capital market today, in the stock market. For Indonesia itself, there's only 4 key things that was discussed: energy transition, digital transformation, food security, and health architecture. These were the 4 things that President Jokowi mentioned to be a focus. I think all these that is being mentioned today are the key items that the will be a focus for 2023. Next slide. COVID-19, this 2022, I think I won't spend too much. What matters is going to be what happened to 2023. I think what happened in G20 is a good setting for what the next year will look like. And I think from Bantu, I think we already summarized the key issues quite well. Next slide. And in terms of Indonesia, I think Bu Melissa probably knows this as well as anyone. I think the economic growth has done quite well the last 3-4 quarters. I think the most important is the growth of Indonesia has not been fueled by debt. A lot of it has been organic growth. Indonesia, among the G20 countries, is one of the lowest with respect to debt to GDP, and this is across household, corporate, as well as government debt. So I think that means it bodes well for Indonesia as a country. Next slide. Sorry if I'm going so fast, but these slides, I'm sure you've seen enough of it. So I'm happy to share this to the audience as well. Fed rate, I think you saw this morning too what happened with Fed. Market has responded positively. And I think next year, the expectation is, will there actually be a cooling down and will just be a tapering of the Fed funds rate? I'm sure Bangkok Bank has a very good view, but I think the market has reacted positively the last 24 hours of what has happened in the US. Next slide. Inflation, I think this is top of mind. It was mentioned already in the presentation before. For Indonesia, I think, honestly, I think a lot of the discussion that we have, 60% is geopolitical, then 40% is what happened after that geopolitical. I'll be honest with you, my top of mind is what's happening in China. And what is happening in China domestically will affect all of us. Number two, what is happening between Russia and Ukraine, the next 6 months is quite critical. So these two combined issues, again, everybody's guess is as good as mine, but this is probably will be top of mind for anyone investing and trying to build either a regional business or a global business. Next slide. JCI has been quite good, relatively speaking. The last 3 days have been bad, but today has been good. So I think it's been a positive improvement. And I think with respect to the last 10 years, it's also been quite good as well. We've been really helped by commodities. But the question is, how long will commodities last next year? I think the first 4 or 5 months, I think also be quite good. But again, I don't know. With commodities, usually we're always wrong. I think in Bamboo, you know that, right? I think we set up a budget. Every year we go wrong in coal. Either it goes really up or maybe it just goes down. So, but that's the one thing we can't predict is where coal prices are gonna go. And that's important for Indonesia. Next slide. And I think for listing, I happen to be on the board of the stock exchange. And this will bode for technology. I'm gonna touch on technology sector after this. Indonesia today is the largest capital market, I think, in terms of number of people and also in terms of market cap. Today we're bigger than Singapore. Our trading volume is number 2 after Thailand, and the focus is how do we get closer to Thailand. We just have to increase the velocity of the trade. We have now about 10 million Indonesians that are in the stock market, but we need to also increase the number of activities among the young people. On average, the last 2.5 years, we've seen a 4x increase in number of subscribers in the Indonesian stock exchange. And majority of them, I would say a lot of them on average is about 26 years old, 50% men, 50% women. So, quite good. Next slide. Tech scene 2023. I think the most important thing about technology the last 8 years before and Pak Jokowi first started until today is that I think technology is now part of everybody's life. It's part of everyone's society. It has become important. And I know why it's become important because now every single tech companies have stakeholder engagement and they're engaging with the local government. So the main difference in the last decade, digital economy has now become part of the main economy. And whatever happens the next 5-7 years, I think that will continually to grow and grow higher than the GDP of whatever countries that they're involved in. Next slide. And if you see exit, there's now becoming more exit. The main worry is also aftermarket performance. The exit is important for private market investors to have a place or a pool of capital to be able to exit. And you see in developed markets, actually the best place for exit is always the public market. The key issues today is what's happening with tech market performance, especially in 2022. Next slide. My view next year, I think we got to stick to the fundamentals. E-commerce is still very important. Fintech is also another market that is very important. E-commerce logistics is another one that I think is important. It's not on the slide, but those three sectors I think are going to primarily still lead the growth in in tech. The other sector I think that you want to look at, I'm also already starting putting capital to work, is green tech, right? Anything in the carbon sector in Indonesia, anything with respect to EV, right, is going to be huge. Sustainability has become top of mind. Anything with respect to waste management is going to be quite strong. So green tech is a big sector for us. Next slide and the last slide. There's three things that I have mentioned as main value creation for 2023. Number one, corporate governance. That's probably sacrosanct. Most important is just corporate governance. I screw up and I probably am part of the problem. So I'm trying to become a part of the solution now. I kind of let people to kind of get away with things. A lot of people, a lot of founders, simply for the sake of growth. I got burned already this year with one position, which became public. My fault, because we didn't focus on the corporate governance. Today, corporate governance, I think, is sacrosanct. For any company raise more than $50 million, this is number one. Put internal board members, put internal audit into places. So behave as though you're going to be public. So, sometimes, and please don't hate me for saying this, sometimes we think founders is better than God. That's not true, man. It's all about the company. So I've screwed up, so this is one of the things that I just want to be honest in this forum. There's like 266 people, but that's what it is. Number two, building business, healthy monetization. I don't, a lot of companies, in the board meetings, they give me CM1, CM2, CM3. What I just care is about EBITDA and free cash flow. That has become a big push for us, especially in businesses that is already proven that it exists and it works. So those in e-commerce logistics, even fintech, and fintech that is going to banks. Well, now we're talking even about NIM. I know Melissa is shocked about NIM in a fintech bank. Yeah, we're talking about NIM too. And lastly, human capital, hiring. So this is the best time. You've never seen a time. We've been talking about wage inflation the last 2 years, especially in tech. This year, we're seeing a reset. You're going to be able to get the best A talent today and be able to put them into the companies. So if there's one focus that we're doing in 2022 is human capital hiring, finding the best talent, and not just in Indonesia, regionally and even globally. We've been getting a lot of people from China, for example, that wants to leave China and wants to come to Southeast Asia. We're going hand over fist trying to look for the best talent that wants to come in. So, honestly, this is probably going to be one of the best hiring years to get the best people into your company. And I always say, hire 1 A+ is equivalent, is better than hiring 5 Bs or 6 Bs. So you always want to get the 1 A+, right? And okay, lastly, and most important is also culture. It's not just necessarily getting the best star talent. At the end, it's about building a team. So even if that A+ can't work with anyone, that means nothing. So it has to be part of a team, part of a culture to build one corporation that's sustainable. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm actually in the other side of the world, so it's nighttime, but so that's why I'm speaking way too openly, but happy to have a sharing moment. And also to Bangkok Bank, thank you for helping our family business being able to grow. Would love to do more with all of you, and hopefully next year can be that time when we can grow and build together with Bangkok Bank. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Park Pandu. That is also very exciting story from Indonesia. Now we are entering into a roundtable discussion sessions, but we have heard from 3 exciting viewpoints. One from the airline business, another one from energy company, and another one from Indonesia and also Indonesia Stock Exchange. These all give us very great view of what's coming in 2023 and beyond. We carefully selected the speaker who will join our webinar. We asked the leading businessmen from different countries, in this case, Malaysia, Thailand, and also Indonesia. So we would love to hear a viewpoint of view also for the regions and also for your own countries. Let me begin from the first questions. Probably I will start from Kun Tony Fernandez first, and probably asking the same question for all. And then later on, I will go in a different question from the audience. Let's discuss on the risk that worried you the most for 2023. I think all of you give very good prospect for 2023, but what worried you the most and how you prepare for it? And also for your own country, what is a particular risk that you worried the most for Malaysia, for Thailand, for Indonesia? Please, let's start from Kun Tony.
Yeah, you know, it's hard to talk about risk because virtually everything has happened, right? We had huge oil price, currencies unstable, interest rates, and geopolitics. I'd say the first thing, what worries me is the unknown. If you had told me that Russia was going to attack Ukraine, and oil price would go up to what it has, I wouldn't have believed you. Similarly, I wouldn't have believed COVID would have created the mess that it's created. So I think the world has seen most of the shocks, and the economy still seems to be fairly robust. I do believe that there's a lot of excess liquidity. That still is a concern for me, actually. It's a weird concern. If you look at what's happened in the crypto markets, what happens on some of the stock exchanges, look at the commodity exchanges, there's so much volatility because there's still a lot of liquidity. So one of my concerns in 2023 is the fluctuating kind of commodity prices. You know, go up as high as 160 in oil and then suddenly comes down to 100. There's a lot of liquidity and a lot of speculation still in the market. I think it's coming out with crypto kind of becoming a bit more sensible, but that is one worry. And the second worry, which appears to be less of a worry, but is geopolitics. You know, there's a lot of tension in the world. And I hope 2023 world leaders will get around and diffuse some of these tensions. There's a good sign between the West and China recently. But so those two things, a lot of liquidity, which is causing havoc in some of the markets through pricing being all over the place, and geopolitics. To prepare for this is very, very hard, to be honest. All we can do is make sure our costs are low, we are cash flow positive, and that we provide a product that people want. I think travel and digital services is still in big demand. And as long as you are providing good value and a good product, then I think there will always be demand. But you can't prepare yourself for geopolitics. You can't prepare yourself for pandemics. You really can't. And high oil, you could with hedging and currency hedging as well. But there's so much fluctuation that it's scary as a business operator to take a hedge, because if you get it wrong, that's also going to cost you a hell of a lot. So my focus is making sure we're the lowest cost, that we provide a great product and create demand.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Kun Fernandez. In fact, I think the last 3 years has been very surprising to me also. I think if anyone told me about COVID, I would not believe it either. before it happened. And also for the geopolitics, it's also very hard to guess what will happen next. But your advice has been very, very good. Keep the cost low, keep cash in hand, and also build the product that people want. This will really keep you weather the storm. Let me turn on to another.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, please, please.
Many Asian businesses, and I'm probably guilty of it myself, but we're trying now, we had no choice, but we're going to split up our group, is sometimes lack of focus. Many businesses try to do too many things and spread themselves too thin. I think in the next few years, focus is very keen for me, putting in the right management. I think Pandu's point is really a good point about, one A guy is equivalent to 5 people, making sure best human capital. 1 Kopsak is equivalent to 23,000 Thais.
Thank you.
We have to make sure that we remain really focused and really micromanage our businesses. I think ASEAN companies have got carried away with easy growth and have diversified too much sometimes and have lacked focus.
Yes, I really agree with you. I think over the past couple of years, I think great opportunity in Asia lead us to expand in a lot of fields that really dilute our attentions, and really reminding me of what happened 25 years ago. Now, let me turn on to Kun Somridi. Same question, please. The risk that worried you the most in 2023, how you preparing for it?
As you said, Dr. Kopsak, if someone tell you about the COVID or the European crisis, now you might not believe. So in our context, we believe that this is something that we have to prepare all the time for the gray rhino or the black swan, that disruption can come at any time when you least expect it. Therefore, we will need to prepare ourselves, as I mentioned in the anti-fragile strategy, that we must be ready for any disruption and aware that in every strike of the disruption always come with the opportunity. So in the way that we prepare the company is, if the economy slow down, we have to prepare our people to be ready for the new growth, meaning that during crisis, we prepare our people. And during the good economic growth, we can have our people available to capture the growth for our business. And secondly, talking about the black rhino, gray rhino, or black swan, we have to believe that the world is now interconnected. What happened to one country, one industry, it will certainly link to other countries and other industries very fast, sooner than you thought. So we will have to be aware that what happened to one, it can impact to all. This is another belief that we will have to prepare. And the other area that we need to prepare is according to the mega trend of today's world. For example, the mega trend in the decentralization in energy sector. People produce energy for themselves. They turn from a consumer to a producer, and even being a prosumer in what they call themselves today. So that's the change from centralization to decentralization. And the second mega trend on the digitalization. So with the improvement of the technology and the state-of-the-art system and the new generation of people who likes to do things in their handphone or online only, we have to change our work process to be more the digitalization, and that's the second D on the mega trend. And the third one is very important according to the ESG, which is the decarbonization, especially a company like us, energy company in general, they will have to be aware of this theme of decarbonization. Therefore, the third challenge that I would mention that we have to prepare is the ESG compliance. Most of the company will have to follow the ESG, and Banpu is really lucky. Our founder, Kun Chaninwak Kusongkit, he has visualized that ESG will be in part. So we start our ESG since the last 18 to 20 years ago, which have the sustainable policy embedded to every strategy that we develop. Right now, we are very proud of being a Thai company accepted by international standard on listed on the JSI for the 9th consecutive year, and a good ESG rating from ESCI as A. And there are so many things that we have to commit according to our ESG. So these are the 3 preparations that we believe going into 2023, we will be in good shape. We will be ready for the growth mode, and we will be more than ready to capture any opportunities that can rise from any disruption in the future.
Thank you very much. That is a great word of wisdom. Be ready for any disruption. I think it's become more clear to everyone that during the new age of 4.0, disruption can happen at any time in the way that we not expected before. We have to be ready for new growth, and also we have to be ready for black swan that can come our way. And the decentralization, digitization, ESG become a key trend that we have to adapt ourselves to it. Now, let's go to Pak Pandu. Indonesia is very exciting country. I think everyone whom I talk to, I mean, investors who come to the regions, they always say that I would like to go to invest in Indonesia. And Indonesia seems to be very immune to all the things happen. I think the stock market still positive this year compared to negative 30% for NASDAQ. Can you tell me what worried Indonesian the most at this point in time? What do you worry for 2023, and how you prepare for it?
So my big worry is self-confidence or overconfidence. What you said is exactly right. There's a lot of momentum coming in. A lot of people want to come into Indonesia, or at least learn about Indonesia. And you know what I say is that sometimes your greatest enemy is ourselves. Sometimes we want to become more self-confident, which leads to overconfident. I think Pak Jokowi had a very good speech 2 weeks ago when he said, I'm very worried about next year, and none of us should be very prepared for next year. So don't be too confident. And we always have to make sure that the goal is still there to increase our economic growth and also increase, our food security issue, our energy security, which is I think top of mind for Indonesia. So, I think quite focused 2023, obviously 2024 is an election year, but interestingly, maybe different than maybe last election years, the focus really for 2023, given the market turbulence and everything that has been mentioned, because somehow, I know you talk about black swan, black swan is supposed to be a chance of rare occurrence. Somehow this black swan happens every year. So it feels as though, maybe we're seeing different swans. It should just be, it's probably all gray swan, they're not black. But anyway, for Indonesia specifically, we can't be too confident. We gotta really focus, and that's what Pak Tony says, focus on the core. We look at everything and focus on fundamentals. And I think that will save us and also save ASEAN. What's unique, I don't think we mentioned this, both Pak Tony and also somebody from Banpu, you're a regional and global business, and actually ASEAN integration is probably the most important thing we got to focus on next year. Indonesia is hosting ASEAN, right? We'll be the chair for 2023. Our focus is actually how do we take care of each other, right? So that's, I think, probably one key theme that we should focus on, and maybe Bangkok Bank can help us, because Ana Kunchatsiri was being the chair for APEC in Bangkok this past month, right? So what can we do next year and build upon the momentum that you guys built in Bangkok? So that's probably my food for thought.
Thank you, Park Pandu. I also agree with you. I think black swan come our way too often. We hope that they have nothing left in store for the coming next few years. Now, I think all three companies have been impacted by same issue. I think the energy securities. We have heard from Tony Fernandez, Kun Tony, that that energy is also key concern. Volatility in the financial market. Banpu definitely have been impacted, given that Banpu is an energy company, and also Indonesia is also impacted by energy volatilities, given that Indonesia is the main producer with a lot of mineral. Now, let me move on to the next questions. We already have heard from the three of what worried you the most. Let's turn to the prospect for ASEAN. I have heard everyone who came to see us, that 2023 will be a tough year for everyone. But for ASEAN, they feel a great opportunity in here. And in fact, they told me that there might be recession in US, in EU, in many other parts of the world. But in ASEAN, we should be able to continue to grow. Can you give us some idea on the future prospect you see for ASEAN going forward during this time of difficulties and volatilities? What are the opportunities that excite you the most in the regions? And in fact, for the audience who are listening, which area they should get into, also do some more study and prepare themselves for those opportunities. Let me start from Kun Somruddhi first, and then Park Pandu, and then Kun Tony Fernandez, please.
Thank you, Dr. Gopsak. As you mentioned, the 2023, you can expect to see a recession, high interest rate, and the energy disruption or energy crisis. However, if we look inside our ASEAN region, we believe that still a lot more opportunities in ASEAN. First, look at the ASEAN population. The population combined is about 642 million people, which accounts for about 8% of the world's total population. This is quite large. And if we look deeper, 35% of ASEAN population is under 25 years old, and 65% will be classed as the middle income by 2030. So if we look at people demography, I believe that ASEAN also have that benefit in terms of the younger generation to work in the business. If compared to those in Europe or in the US. And when we look at ASEAN, right now, I would say that the ASEAN's digital network and digital literacy is very rapid compared to other regions in this world. The ASEAN digital network and digital literacy growing as an e-commerce, which is forecast to be as high as 88 billion by 2025. I believe this is a very big opportunity and areas for growth. And I go back to the mega trend of digitalization, which will embed to everybody's life in a day. The other part, I would say the ASEAN population is a wealthier population, with the middle class emerge in Southeast Asia and projected to grow. This will make the ASEAN population being a wealthier population compared to other regions. And all of these are from the research from many houses saying like that. But most importantly, I would view that ASEAN could be a very, very good manufacturing hub. We have become an international hub for many manufacturing, driven by the steady increase in the investment and GDP growth. Look at Indonesia, for example, right now, a resource-rich country like Indonesia have so many resources related to the new transformation of energy. or battery energy storage. For example, nickel, cobalt, and everything. And Indonesia will be very rich going forward because of these strategic minerals. And with the policy of Indonesian government, they also reserve all of these to be in the domestic produce for value added. We see so many huge company like CATL, LG coming to joint venture with Indonesia for the battery production. I think that's the beauty of ASEAN, and it will boost a lot. And lastly, I see the opportunity to diversify. So doing business in ASEAN allows companies to diversify their supply chains and networks into Southeast Asian market or in Asian market, avoiding the over concentration operation in China, like the diversification in central to a company's resilience. And there are the strategy that we implement as well, looking at ASEAN as the hub of manufacturing. That's why Banpu grow a lot in ASEAN as a production base, and look at market like China, Europe, Japan, Korea as the market base. So with all of these, I believe a lot of collaboration and a lot of agreement that ASEAN have with many parties. And as Padan said, Kun Chasri is now leading the Thailand. So I would see that not only Thailand, but I see every country in ASEAN can join hand and collaborate to capture all of the growth that we can see. And again, I believe that Bangkok Bank will be a great integrator of these for ASEAN country.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your confidence. We will definitely work closely with Banpu. I also agree with your assessment that there will be a lot of opportunity in ASEAN going forward. Let us turn on to Park Pandu. Can you give us your view on ASEAN going forward during these difficult times? What area that excites you the most?
What excites me is actually from a geopolitical perspective, ASEAN has become now one of the more stable or most stable region. And, that's a good thing. We've had election this year that turned out smoothly without many big issues. I know Patoni just went through an election a week ago. It also went well, right? Given all the circumstances, it went well. Indonesia will go through one in a year plus. So, stability is so paramount. And the fact is, among ASEAN countries, we actually work very well together, right? So that's also very important for us. So just think about the next 2 decades, guys. I think the next 2 decades for ASEAN, we can potentially be bigger than EU as an economy. 2 decades, right? And that's a big trend for us, right? So the question is, let's not screw it up. Let's support each other and see how we can do more trades with one another. And that's why Bangkok Bank can be a helpful friend in terms of putting all the ASEAN countries to work through trades together, right? And we've gone through this last 2 decades and growing. And I think the most important is how do we take the momentum, not because, we're so good, but mostly because other unions have screwed up so much. So let's just take the momentum to build upon this and, be supportive. And one thing for sure, let's not be too big-headed. We also can't be too overconfident, because, there's still a lot of things to be fixed. And, believe it or not, I think ASEAN can be a role model with respect to governance, both on the corporate level, as well as an institutional, as a nation building level, right? So that's something, just food for thought, the next 2 decades with a big trend. And, culturally, I think we're also great fits. So, let's do that. I think that's probably more exciting for me in terms of looking what ASEAN can be the next 2 decades.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Park Pandu. I also agree with you that ASEAN is one of the most stable region in the world. When you look around in the year 2022, I think Europe very volatile. When you look at the US, it also have a lot of difficulties going forward. It is ASEAN that seem to be the safe haven for everyone going forward. Now, let's turn to Kun Fernandez. How you see ASEAN? What is the prospect you see in it and the opportunity that you see in ASEAN, please?
Well, I mean, I've been an ASEANist for a long time. That is the future. I mean, I started AirAsia with a very firm goal of connecting ASEAN. With the launch of Cambodia, that becomes our 5th ASEAN airline, and we have 2 more, which will take us to 7. We should probably be covering all of ASEAN. So I'm a big believer in ASEAN. AirAsia has shown what an internal market can be by creating internal tourism. So right now we have no China, but our business is still very strong because many Malaysians are going to Thailand, Thais are going to Indonesia, Indonesians are going to Singapore, etc. We created so many new routes and so much connectivity. So there is a great ASEAN internal market that's the greatest asset. 700 million people. I don't want to be a little bit negative that I feel ASEAN Secretary General, the ASEAN officers, need to do more for integration, need to do more for economic integration. If you look at the e-commerce business, it is easier to send a package from China to Malaysia than it is to send a package from Indonesia to Malaysia. You know, there's many areas. Europe went too far with parliaments and political union. As where every economic union that is focused on economics has won. And I think really ASEAN must do more for more economic integration. To create a single market will be huge for ASEAN, to remove the barriers, and as Pandu said, to maybe to trust each other a little bit more. And that history has shown in an economic union, everyone wins. Right now, everyone's worried about, oh, if I do this, this country will benefit more than me. Indonesia is obviously the biggest country, so they feel that maybe they open up their market, then others will benefit. But actually, Indonesian digital companies are the most successful companies, and they should be taking their products outside of Malaysia. In the airline business, actually, there are 2 airlines that have really focused on ASEAN, AirAsia and Lion Group from Indonesia. And actually, you have now Vietjet also trying to build an ASEAN business. So the airline business is actually ahead of everyone, where we've created joint ventures. But in ownership, I can't own 100%. There are still very outdated laws out there. So I really hope ASEAN has enormous potential. AirAsia success is because of ASEAN. And, you know, we believe in it tremendously, but there is so much more potential. And this is the time now, while there are issues in other parts of the world, ASEAN has an opportunity to really leapfrog. But it needs commitment from the leaders of ASEAN to trust each other and realize that 1 + 1 will equal 3. There are so many easy things to do, which will benefit all the people of ASEAN. So, you know, I hope companies such as Bangkok Bank and ourselves can push ASEAN leaders to do more. The time is now to take the initiative with some of the issues in North Asia.
Thank you, Kun Tony Fernandez. We also very much believe in ASEAN as well. I think Bangkok Bank have been in the region for a long time, since almost 70 years ago. And we have seen over the past decades that the momentum have been gathering very strongly for ASEAN, and the leading companies such as AirAsia, who become the leading ASEAN bank, has been proven to everyone that the future is here. And in fact, if we can capitalize in ASEAN, we will definitely become one of the leading company in Asia later on. And for us, we have seen a lot of company is now become their regional expansions, and the result has been quite good so far. Now, let me turn on to different questions for different company, and I will come back to the final question one more time on what is next. But now let me go to Park Pandu. I have heard from many friends and also with my visit to Indonesia with Kun Chatsiri many times. Every time we go there, we have seen the great confidence in terms of the tech company. The startup scene has been the most vibrant in Southeast Asia. Can you give us some idea of the prospect in the startup scenes in Indonesia? Where should people invest into this area? What to look for, and what are the most promising ones?
Yeah, I'm actually more confident this year, this time of the year, than December last year. The reason being is now there is it's probably more sobering for a lot of the VC founders that, you know, they have to balance between growth and sustainability. And they also know that capital today is very valuable. So they have to figure out how to get product market fit right away. So, you know, 2020 and 2021 is very different. You know, COVID essentially accelerates the adoption of e-commerce, but it also put a lot of changes in perception that you have to grow at all costs. So I think what happened in 2022 is actually very helpful for this industry. And if you look at the top 3 tech conglomerates, namely, you know, C, Goto, Grab, you know, the bottom line performance of these businesses have actually grown quite well while using much less cash, meaning that a lot of it is coming from internal growth. A lot of it is coming from productive use of capital. And what you will see this next 1 year, that now they're thinking about ROE, ROI of all the capital spend that they're doing. So I think that's a good thing. So I'm actually now becoming more bullish of what's going on in the technology world. I'm becoming more bullish of what's going on in the e-commerce, fintech, e-commerce logistics. Why? Because this last 1 year has been a great reset, just in terms of mindset of founders. And that's important. In fact, if you're looking at businesses too, outside of those that are listed, early stage, I think you'll see a very good vintage of founders, 2022, 2023. As I mentioned about, there's a big number of changes going on among the large conglomerates of tech conglomerates. You're going to see great people coming out. A lot of these great people have choices whether they're going to build their own startup or join a large company, right? And be a valuable contributor. I think the 2022, 2023 vintage of founders is going to be very different from the past 3 to 4 years. Their mindset will not be growth at all costs. Their mindset will be able to grow sustainably with limited costs. So I think capital efficiency will be the main theme for 2023. So yeah, I'm actually more bullish now than I was 12 months ago.
I really agree. I think, in fact, I can tell you that I a little bit envy of Indonesia. Every time I go there, I heard many company, in fact, VC and also new startup, they speak very confidently with internal market of Indonesia. They work together, and then what are the new prospect, new company they are investing into. When I look back to the case of Thailand, I think we still need to do work a lot more in terms of this technology company. And in fact, when you look in terms of the US, the top 10 market cap mostly is tech companies. Yeah.
Right. And that's why we need to work together more among the different countries, different companies. It's actually a great set of opportunity. You know, I'll give you a good example. One company you invest, which is actually based out of Malaysia, called Karsam. You know, that came from, you know, I think a 300 million company today, slightly larger valuation. but we helped them grow in Indonesia, and we essentially built partnership together. So I think ideas can come from anywhere in ASEAN, right? What actually Kontoni said was so right. It was right, really right. We have to be able to work with one another because ASEAN is such a large market. So we shouldn't even think about, okay, we got it. Indonesia is a big market, etc. But how can Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines grow together and build a much larger market? I think that's probably a cool thing to do, or a cool thing to figure out the next 3 to 4 years.
Thank you. Let me turn to Kun Tony Fernandez. I think one of the question that people have the most in their mind is the question of China opening up. Can you give us your thought on China opening up? Because I know that AirAsia have large operation bringing people from China to ASEAN. And in fact, I would like to thank you from the point of view of Thailand. I think you have helped Thailand a great deal during this difficult time of China still closing down. AirAsia have fly a lot of Indian into Thailand. And in fact, the Indian is now number 2 tourist arrival in Thailand at this point in time. So how do you think about China? When are they going to open up, and what are the opportunities for AirAsia?
The one downside of opening up a lot of Indian flights is I'm no more unique in Bangkok. Everyone looks like me now when I'm in Bangkok. I used to be special in Bangkok, no more. There's so many lookalikes.
Yes, a lot of Indian.
Yes. I think, look, this is $1 million question, but a combination of things I think is showing that China's going to open up very soon. We're the biggest airline into China of any Asian airline. We have 25 destinations in China. And the Chinese government has been very supportive to us because we actually brought in as many tourists into China as we took out. We were the only airline where it was 60% Chinese coming out, but 40% of ASEAN people going into China for tourism. So they're very pro AirAsia. So we've been getting a lot of positive signals. Firstly, today, Hong Kong is virtually all open. They're scrapping their contact tracing. They have removed all bans on international travelers. So Hong Kong is virtually the same as Thailand soon. Now, Hong Kong is always the pioneer. It always starts with Hong Kong. Next is Macau. We have been told by the Macau government that Macau will open January 1st. And that means that China is not far behind, because Macau is very, very closely aligned with China. So if Macau is opening up in January, I foresee a gradual opening up, not overnight, a gradual opening up from about after Chinese New Year, after the Lunar New Year. So I'd say February, we begin to see some opening up. And then I think by second quarter, it will be virtually opened up. It will be, there will be some filling up of forms and maybe some testing, et cetera. But you can see the pace of what's happening in China already. A lot of the forced quarantine centers all are being closed down. The state is saying that Omicron is not dangerous. Take care of yourself at home. So I think it's inevitable. It's only a matter of time. I do think we have to thank the Football World Cup. I think when a lot of Chinese people saw, hundreds of thousands of people hugging each other and jumping on top of each other, that, same way I felt when you saw European football open, but we were still under lockdown. So a long answer to a short question. My view is between the first and second quarter, China will open up. It will be a gradual opening up. It won't be like, oh, everything's open. It will be slowly. It will be city by city. But I predict by the end of second quarter, everything will be fully open.
Thank you very much. It is a great news to hear. I think Thailand also rely very much on the tourism sector. And during this difficult time, as an economist, I have started to see the data on export sector is coming down. I think the global recession is now taking a toll on the export sector of the regions. So for Thailand, we very much looking forward to the return of the tourists into the country. At this point in time, maybe in December, probably 2 million per month, a far cry from 4 million per month in the peak, but it's still quite a good number compared to zero a year before. And in fact, if China is opening up in the first quarter and second quarter, that will come exactly at the right time for the regions. I think the whole region is very much looking forward to the return of the tourists from China. And in fact, I also agree with you. I remember when we watched European Cup 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Very much envy to them.
Yeah.
I think
Correct.
we still put on the mask.
Right. When you see
And
everyone,
then, yeah,
you know, jumping
my
on top of
government,
each other when they score a goal. Very
yeah, I know. No mask. And then I remember my government is very much under pressure.
Yes.
And our people asking, how come European is now having a good time and we still have to stay at home and lock up, right? And I think the same question being asked at this point in time. Now, let me turn on to Kun Somridi. I think one of the key questions people very much mindful of is the climate question. I think this will become very top key challenge for the regions. How do you see these questions of climate challenge and the movement by the government around the world to counter this problem? How it will change the region? How it will change the energy infrastructure going forward?
That is the real concern, and that's the reason why we do need to transform Banpu to a greener, smarter company. And if we look at Banpu, we have the mission to deliver sustainability energy to Asia Pacific. So our purpose is to transform the energy sector in Asia Pacific, or being a leader in transforming energy in Asia Pacific to be a sustainable energy consists of three principles of affordable, reliable, and eco-friendly. And this is the reason why we have Banpu, why Banpu is existing, because we will have to be responsible for delivering the energy into this region of Asia Pacific. And with the threat of the climate change, the environmental impact, the COP27 and so on, that is the key why Banpu will need this mission with passion to transform. Therefore, the key for us is to align with the ESG all the time. Our commitment to energy sustainability is reflected on our ESG performance. Banpu actually is a social conscious company. We care deeply about our impact to the environment and on our communities. We have to embed this DNA, this belief to our people so that we can be responsible for a big responsibility that we will have to take. So the commitment on distribute the equally in terms of the effort in taking care of environment, social, and government, the ESG, these are the key paths that Banpu have taken and inject into our DNA. That's number one. Number two, as I mentioned, the world is interconnected. So we will no longer see a business which purely deliver products or services. We will see more business delivering platform and ecosystem business together with their product and services. The integrated energy ecosystem also developed in that way. So at Banpu, we look at this integrated energy solution across the Pacific Rim. We operate across the energy value chain. There are three main areas that I mentioned: energy resources, energy generation, and energy technology. And actually, as you have heard Pak Pandu mention, Indonesia is the great country, and we are very lucky that we have been invested in Indonesia since 1991, and with our ITMG now being a main company, a major company in terms of Banpu, we have 65% there and 35% is public, and we are very proud of being part of Indonesia to grow sustainability in Indonesia. At ITM, we also look at starting our energy technology business through our subsidiary as well. That is another part that we are committed to sustainability and ESG commitment. So the integrated business model will encourage ecosystem thinking and allow us to seamlessly pivot our funds across operations depending on the state of global markets. For example, in this 2022, we see a high price of energy. We benefit some from that recent price. So we can channel our fund to fund our greener business more faster than we can ever do in the past. So with this capacity, we are looking forward to accelerating our greener, smarter strategy to be compliant and ESG aligned. In Banpu Next, this is the new company that we built in 2020 to be a pure green company. So at Banpu Next, we do nothing but green, renewable energy technology and everything that is green. And this one will be another step that Banpu move toward the greener, smarter by innovative technologies. It will enhance and accessible and affordability on the anything that we do based on the decarbonization challenge. Our e-mobility, our smart city, I think we are preparing to grow all of these. So you will see a greener, smarter Banpu than ever in the near future.
Really agree with you. The ESG trend is now impact on the company. I remember that 2 years ago when investors start asking Bangkok Bank about our engagement in terms of green loan, green bond, ESG. At that point in time, I just thought this is just a trend to ask these questions. But 2 years on, I really feel that a lot of investors around the world place a great premium into the ESG related product, company, projects, and others. Now, majority of our audience. Yes, please.
Can I just mention one thing about ESG?
Please.
You know, a lot is being discussed about carbon credits. And I hope ASEAN does more to utilize the carbon credits in ASEAN. A lot of projects, even aviation projects, the carbon credits go to countries like New Zealand, etc. And so one of the big problems of ESG, as we all trying to reduce our carbon footprint, and of course aviation is always in the news, is that I hope a lot of governments will create carbon offset projects within ASEAN and make sure that the trading of carbon offset products is also within ASEAN. This is a great opportunity for ASEAN to build an exchange. I know the Singaporeans are doing it, but we really should focus so that the outflow of zero carbon effects happens not outside of ASEAN, but in ASEAN. And I think ASEAN isn't doing enough to create more carbon offset projects and to create carbon offset trading as well, which I think is critical for the future of ASEAN, especially as we're growing. The pressure will be on, and so it's really critical that ASEAN looks after itself as well.
Mhm. I really agree on that also. I think many of the projects in ASEAN can be benefiting each other, and the Thai government is also now working on the net zero and carbon offset. Then we can work together with our colleague in ASEAN.
Actually, we should just be the three of us start doing it, Tony. Because people in this forum just kind of push for it, and then start. Banpu, I'm sure, and Bangkok Bank. I'm sure Bank of the stock exchange or Bank of Thailand will listen very closely to what you say.
Yeah, I mean, I think
the three of us can kind of start.
Yeah, I think if the stock exchanges and companies such as ours and Banpu, really we should lead the way, because otherwise the West benefits.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Yes,
I
yes.
think
Now we
so
have
why
a
don't we do
project to
that?
work on.
Kind of like that. I know. Why don't we do that and just start thinking about it, because that's a great idea. Seriously.
I'm totally in support.
Yeah,
Dr.
we'd be honored to. We'd be honored to, Babadu.
You should start the project, Dr. Kopsa.
I will tell Kun Tony, Kun Chasri, and then we will definitely make arrangement for all of us to get together.
Yeah.
Seriously. That's a great idea, because in IDX are trying to do it too. But you know what? Everyone that's talking is from London Stock Exchange,
exactly.
US guys.
Exactly.
I'm like, man, why not just the three of us roll with this? This is a great idea.
Correct.
In fact, in Thailand, we have a lot of good projects about community forests where we can have a lot of carbon credit generated. And in fact, we can really share and spread it across the company in ASEAN together. No need to send to Europe. No need for New Zealand.
No, I have protested on my carbon offsets. And they want to send it to New Zealand. I said I'm not doing it.
And if you look at the richest country to be able to operate this carbon credit, it will be Indonesia in terms of the natural based solution.
Correct.
Because you have plenty of land, right?
And this is a great, for all the palm oil lobby and all that, we should be doing it ourselves. The two ASEAN projects, I believe we should be doing more. One is ESG, for sure.
Yeah.
The second is complete digression. ASEAN should host a World Cup. Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, why if Qatar can do it, we can do it, and we can do it better.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a World Cup which has Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia?
Okay.
It would
This
be
is a
great
great
way to bring
topic.
ASEAN together as well.
Yeah, can be joint.
Sponsored by Bangkok Bank.
Kun Tony say yes already. And in fact, it will be good for our sleep, right? The sleep will be exactly at the right moment. No
Correct.
need to wait until 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning and watching the World Cup.
Right.
Okay. In fact,
That's a good idea.
I have final questions. We have discussed a lot about the prospect, the risk we see, our preparations. A large majority of our audience are the SME. In fact, there was one question that coming up. They said, all of you are from the big company. Do you have any suggestion to SME to prepare themselves for 2023? Let's start from Kun Tony Fernandez and then Kun Somruddhi and Kun Park Pandu. How about that?
SMEs, we've kind of answered it today. There's a massive 700 million market in ASEAN. If SMEs start looking at their business outside of their own country, there is a huge opportunity for SMEs. Second piece of advice is make sure you build a brand and have good marketing. Too many great companies never spend enough on building a brand. The value of AirAsia's brand during COVID is what enabled us to survive and build other businesses like AirAsia Food, AirAsia Ride Hailing, and even our digital bank. So SMEs do not put enough money into building a brand and marketing their product. So ASEAN, building a brand and marketing, and my my final advice is go into businesses that are needed. There is so much in ASEAN that is still imported, and there is so much talent in ASEAN that we could really be creating more of our own products and creating more internal markets. Those are my 3 pieces of advice. It's a wonderful time to be an SME because of digital disruption. You can grow very fast. You have a huge market. Most SMEs only look at themselves in their own country, but there's a huge 700 million market. And please invest in building a brand, because even small SMEs in Europe always invest in their brand.
Great advice. Thank you. Kun Somridi, please.
Thank you, and that's great advice from Tony. So I would say in terms of the SME, I believe that in Thailand we have huge SME company which impact from the crisis because of the disruption in the supply chain, on the food, on the tourism community, and all the beverage sectors. All of these are impacted. Not to mention the automobile. There are also several SME in Thailand. So I would foresee that if we can cope well with all the challenge and the disruption, whatever it is, the black swan, whatever it is, the innovation is something that we have to plug into our family business or our SME business. Innovation means that if there is a disruption, we have to look into our business, and we must be able to change our business quickly. I see many Thai smaller company, they change their business model during the crisis, and they are very successful, especially the food business, beverage business. So that kind of innovation to the business model, make it flexible, it will help. Banpo have been through so many crises since 1986 crisis, the 1997 crisis, 2008 crisis, and the recent drop in the commodity price since 2012, and just 2019 COVID, and this year European crisis. So with innovation, with the business model and flexibilities on adjusting ourselves, especially the part that we control, on the cost in which Tony mentioned earlier, we use the word stand on ourselves, stand on your foot, stand on your feet, meaning that any crisis, you will be able to adjust yourself very well. And I'm back to interconnected. So don't be so sure. Believe that, oh, this will not impact us. Don't believe like that. Anything happen, you just think how it will impact your business. That is the first thing to do in terms of risk management. Even though you are small, you are medium, or you are large scale, this is no different. What impact others will impact us. That's a normal fact of life. So people talk about new normal during the pandemic. However, in Banpo, we believe that we are entering into the era of never normal. New normal is too light, but never normal will make you alert all the time. The rapid innovation, continuous change, cross-sector disruption make up the fluctuation of global business landscape. We have to prepare for that. To thrive into the long term, every company must integrate the never normal paradigm into their business strategies so that they may harness the disruptive forces to their advantage. And last, but also very, very important, you need a partnership for life. You need a partner who walk with you in the good time, in the bad time. And Banpo experienced that. And I am so impressed and so thankful. Bangkok Bank is our lifetime partner.
Thank you very much. Such a great word of advice. I think people looking for new normal. I think I've been talking to a lot of business. They said, Kopsak, when is new normal coming? And I start to think they want new normal because they want to relax again. They have been in difficult time for 3 years already. They think it's time to rest and relax. But in fact, if we adopt a new idea about never normal, then now they have to be on alert at all times. Park Pandu, please, your word advice to SME. I believe that Indonesia have a lot and lots of SME.
Yeah, but it's not. Would it be an advice? Maybe just sharing. I think one thing. I think Kundoni said it right. Focus on the brand. Probably gonna add is that focus on your customer. Sometimes you kind of forget your own customer. In the time of growth, you raise and just simply grow. And this is regardless you're B2C or B2B. I think majority of SME is really direct to consumer, B2C. So really focus on the brand, obviously, but focus really on your consumer. Listen to them, really listen to them. And that's one way to really grow. And you're just asking 2023, right? Just 1 year. So this is a good time to refocus your effort. And don't forget, I think you say these are big companies. All of them started as an SME. I think he mentioned already his first slide. It was just one idea, 1 ringgit, right? And with a lot of crazy, you can get something done, right? So you need a little bit of crazy on you to get something done. We just kind of tried to figure out 2 deals, right? One was a deal about the ESG in terms of carbon in this forum. And number 2, that World Cup idea, which is also really cool. So, you need a little bit of thinking outside the box, collaboration. And, with Bangkok Bank, this is not a partner, not just partner. All 3 of us know each other. This is about building counterparty trust. Because at the end of the day, you got to build trust. And that's where Bangkok Bank also helps. It's building this counterparty trust, right? For all of you that's probably in this call already and helping other SME or our SMEs. The most important thing is just building that brand, building the consumer. So at the end is building the trust for your institution. So, of course you need to have a little bit of crazy and luck, but that's just how it works, right? There's no real secret about this. This is more of a reminder, not an advice,
Okay. I think the meeting is come to the close. Anyone have the last word to share to the audience? If not, let me conclude. I think it's a great opportunity to be able to listen to top business leader like this. I think it's not normal to have their times. We are very much grateful for your generosity in giving your times. And I think our clients or the business leader in the region would very much appreciate the suggestion, insight. I think we have learned a lot today. 2023 will be another challenging year. But from what I heard from 3 great companies, they are very much confident that 2023 can be another good year. A lot of opportunity waiting for us. There are good words of advice. Looking for the ASEAN market of 700 million. Keep the cost low, build the brand, build the product that people want. Keep innovate, keep flexibility, anti-fragilities, stand your own feet, and also build the trust, do the corporate governance well, do the hiring A+, not B-. And then at the same time, we have to keep our self ready for the next disruption coming our way, next black swan. Think in terms of never normal, not a new normal, but never normal. And finally,
and fly on AirAsia.
And fly on Asia, definitely fly on Air Asia, invest in Indonesia, and then use energy from Banpu. And also, and finally, build the trust with your customer, with your partner. And in fact, as Kun Somridi said, build partnership for life. I think Kun Chashri will agree with that very much. Bangkok Bank will be ready to be partner for your life and in Thailand, in the region, and elsewhere in the world to grow together. I think with this, I would like to thank all the speakers. Please give us a warm round of applause to them. online. and then we hope that we can come to see you again 3 months from now. We plan to have this kind of webinar every 3 months so that everyone can hear from the top business leader in the regions and also see the opportunities, prepare ourselves well for the challenge that coming our way. And with that, I would like to thank all the speakers again for their active and very insightful comment throughout the seminar. Thank you ขอบคุณครับ
ขอบคุณมากค่ะ Thank you Tony ปะพันดุ Dr. จอมศักดิ์
Thank
and
you
all Bangkok Bank team. Thank you all the panelists and audience. Thank
you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
ขอบคุณค่ะ
Merry Christmas and
Terima
Happy
kasih
New Year.
banyak.
Terima kasih.
สวัสดีค่ะ
ขอบคุณครับ
Thank you very much, Dr. Kopsak, and all the distinguished speakers, Sir Tony Fernandez, Kung Somridi, Pak Pandu, for being the great moderator, and also speakers for today for very insightful and enlightening discussions. We hope all of our attendees have taken away a lot of great keynotes and information as well. Let us give once again a big round of applause for our moderator and speakers, please, from the studio. Thank you. And to close today's webinar, let us welcome the President Director of PermataBank, Mrs. Meliza Rusli, to deliver the closing remarks. Kepada Ibu Meliza, kami persilahkan.
Good day, selamat siang, sawadikap. It was very interesting and also thought-provoking discussion we had this morning with all the speakers, also assisted by moderator Kun Kopsak. And thank you for all the speakers for providing the very insightful insight for us on the challenges as well as the opportunities for all of us in Southeast Asia, especially on the leaders and also investors. It is very enlightening that ASEAN integration will be an exciting future in the region. And while we had discussion, and it is quite clear that the turbulence on the horizon remain quite strong, and also we have to be vigilant to the risk and how to move forward prudently. The long-term perspective have reinforced the optimism that ASEAN will provide the safe harbor for investors as well as businesses to grow, to leapfrog other economies, especially focusing on the ESG opportunities. And as speaker said, the time is now. So let's start with the World Cup in ASEAN first, and let's fly on Air Asia, buy energy for Banpu, and also invest on the technology stock in IDX. And I hope that you have found today's webinar to be of value. And this is the example of how Bangkok Bank and PermataBank work together as one family and one bank, and to provide you with insights that you can make informed business decisions and also to navigate challenges in the future. PermataBank, as part of Bangkok Bank Group, will continue to connect customers, either large corporates and SME, with investment and growth opportunities across Indonesia, ASEAN, and also beyond. We'll also facilitate the business expansion in Indonesia to support the Indonesia's economic development and to create inclusive and sustainable development to the benefits of all stakeholders. We hope you enjoy the session today and look forward for sharing more insights with the future webinar. Thank you. Terima kasih. Khop kun kap.
Thank you, Ibu
ขอบคุณครับ
Melissa.
thank you
Terima kasih banyak.
bye bye thank you
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, all attendees, honorable guests, distinguished speakers, we have reached at the end of today's event. Once again, we would like to thank you for your attendance and your active participation, all the discussions. And with that, I'm Arinta Rosiana, and with organizing committee in the studio signing off. Thank you very much. Have a great day and see you at the next event. Thank you. Goodbye.